Welcome to Revolutionary Motion, where we show you tennis from a different perspective. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to design and construct winning tactics depending on what kind of preferences you have on the tennis court and what your strengths and weaknesses are. So now obviously this is a very vague topic overall because every player is different and everybody has different strengths and weaknesses. I'll just go through like a couple of generic examples here. So the first thing that I always ask my students when trying to figure out how they should win their matches is, tell me a couple of shots that you really like to hit. And we're not talking about forehand or backhand, nothing that generic, but something specific. Like for example, some people really like to hit a short cross-court forehand. Some people like to hit a heavy, high topspin down the line forehand, for example. Some people like to play drop shots. Some people like to play low slices, short cross-court or deep. And it doesn't really matter what type of shot we're talking about here. Every single shot that you have as a preference can be used to create winning tactics. Now, let's, for this video specifically, not talk about the serve too much because obviously, a strong serve makes tactics much easier, and you can apply the same concepts that I'm going to talk about for your serve as well. So if we're just taking a look at the baseline play, as well as net play, let's say our imaginary player has a very good forehand, and they can attack with a forehand from almost anywhere, but they don't feel very comfortable with their backhand. So now first we have to take a look at what forehands are they better at. So for example, if this player has a very good deep cross-court forehand but doesn't really feel comfortable with a short cross-court forehand, obviously we're not going to consider that because that's one of their weaker shots. They could learn it over time, but right now it's not an asset that they can use to create their tactics. Now they have a very strong, deep cross-court forehand, and they have a very good high loopy topspin forehand that they can hit down the line. Now you can see here, both of those shots access a different part of the court, right? And that's what we're looking for in our tactics. We're looking for a specific way that we can hit a ball to each of the corners. Ideally, we would have some kind of short angle shot in our repertoire as well. Maybe this player has a good short forehand, short backhand slice, right? We can use that as well. But even without that, it's totally possible to finish off your shots and, find winning tactics without that short cross-court ball. So now let's go back to the example. Our player can hit that great cross-court, deep cross-court, and deep down the line with heavy topspin. Now we know that obviously the deep down the line forehand with heavy topspin attacks the backhand of 90% of the players out there that are right-handed. And the deep cross-court attacks the forehand. Now most players feel comfortable with the forehand, so it's not really a shot that you can use too much to set up the point, but you can definitely use it to sometimes hurt your opponent when they're not in position to cover that cross-court forehand. So now the question is, how do we get our opponent to move so that cross-court forehand or the deep down the line forehand becomes a winner shot? Now it's pretty simple and straightforward. We need to make sure that our opponent moves away from the corner that we're trying to attack. So if we're trying to set up our whole game style around that heavy topspin to the backhand, then our player needs to find in every single rally a solution to be able to attack with that shot. Because if you just hit it as a first shot in a rally, it won't really do you any good because your opponent is right in the middle of the court. They'll, get to that shot very easily and play the ball back. So now our player is trying to look for a moment when they can hit that cross-court forehand, at close to their full potential, maybe at 85% of their power, so they can kind of attack and push back the opponent slightly. Now once that happens, now that down the line heavy topspin forehand is actually a bigger weapon than if your opponent's right in the middle, because now they have to cover, the cross-court, the backhand side from all the way from their forehand corner. That becomes challenging. So that means you have to build up your game style with those two shots in mind. You have to be able to go side to side, which, is pretty obvious, but how do you do that? How do you find the right moment to attack? You're playing a comfortable rally shot until you have enough time to set up properly to hit that cross-court shot a bit harder. Until then, you're just going to be patient and you're going to try to figure out in which moment is the right moment to actually go for that cross court a bit harder. Then you attack with that high loopy down the line forehand after that, because most of the time when you attack, people are going to go back cross court because they don't want to open up the cross court for you. So you attack with that heavy cross court forehand, your opponent will try to go back cross court. So now you hit that heavy high topspin forehand down the line, and now you see that your opponent has run across the whole court. Chances are they're not going to get in position to hit a very good deep shot. So what is going to happen? They're going to try to play that ball deep, but they're going to fail. The ball is going to go short. Now you can see that that opens up an opportunity for you. You could either, with that heavy topspin forehand down the line, come to the net already and have an easy put-away volley. Obviously don't sprint all the way to the net, but stay a little bit further back. Or you could wait in the back for an approach shot, because you know the next ball is going to be short. And now, guess what? You're just going to attack the other side of the court again. You're going to go cross court one more time, or if they manage to play cross court themselves, you're going to have to figure out how to go down the line. So the key point here is your tactics have to be very simple and straightforward. You're going to go side to side to side. Now, you can't do that on every single shot because your opponent has, a ball that they hit towards you, so sometimes you're not going to be in position. Winning tactics encounter that and say, okay, I'm going to wait until I'm in position to use my tactics, to use my pattern that I know I can do. Okay? Another example would be, for example, somebody has a very good short cross-court backhand. Now, and then maybe on top of that, a very good cross-court, deep cross-court forehand. Now this player should always, whenever they feel comfortable enough to hit that short cross-court backhand, hit that shot, even if that means that you're opening up the angle for your opponent. Keep in mind, your opponent is on the run. They're going to get all the way off the court, and they have to hit a good backhand, or else you're going to attack the open court. So don't be afraid to use your strength, even if that means that you're giving up an angle towards your opponent. Unless you're playing against Rafael Nadal, most likely your opponent is not going to hit a winner every single time when that happens. So you got to be ready to attack the open court once you open up the court with your first shot. Whatever your tactics are, every single time you want to attack the open court. Okay? That's how winning tactics in tennis work. It doesn't matter what shot you use for that. What matters is that you're using the geometry on the court, so your opponent has to cover long distances between shots. That will force them to, first of all, hit better, because if they don't, then you're going to keep making them run. But it also will put pressure on them because they know you're going to attack more, so now they're getting more risky with their shot selection. And on top of that, if you feel comfortable coming to the net and you made your opponent run, you should do that and again attack the open court. Go side to side. Don't go behind people. If people run to their forehand, now get back to the center. Don't go back to the forehand. Okay, people that are not that fast, they know that they can't cover the other side, so they're not going to even try. They're going to pretend to run over there, stop, and now they can set up for a good forehand themselves. So you got to make sure that you go side to side when you're in the offense, and that's really how you work your opponent around the court and how you set up winning tactics with any ground stroke that you really like. It doesn't matter if it's a short slice, if it's a high heavy topspin ball, if it's moon balls, whatever it is, placement here is the key to win your matches.
Hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon.